Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a heart attack. And for a lot of them, that single event triggers something catastrophic called cardiogenic shock. It's a condition so severe, it basically turns the body's own life support system into a countdown clock. So today, we're going to break down exactly why this condition is such a desperate race against time.
Okay, first things first, let's be super clear. When you hear a doctor talk about shock, they are not talking about being emotionally surprised. Not at all. Medical shock is a physical catastrophe. It's a state where your body's tissues are literally being starved of blood flow and oxygen, and that leads to cells getting damaged fast. It is a massive red alert medical emergency where the body is, quite literally, shutting itself down.
To really get our heads around this, let's use a simple analogy that's going to guide us through this whole explainer. Think of your circulatory system like a city's water supply. You've got a powerful central pump, that's your heart of course, and you've got this incredibly complex network of pipes delivering that water everywhere, and those are your blood vessels. Shock is what happens when this absolutely essential infrastructure fails. Now, a system-wide failure like this doesn't just happen out of the blue. So where do the cracks in this vital network even start to show? Well, let's start by taking a look at the pipes and the pump for the most common points of failure. A huge problem with the pipes is a condition called atherosclerosis. You've probably heard it called hardening of the arteries. Over time, gunk, these plaques, build up inside your blood vessels, which makes them narrow and stiff. Just imagine rust and scale building up inside a city's old water mains. It restricts the flow and forces the whole system to work way harder. So what causes all this buildup? Well, the risk factors are probably going to sound pretty familiar. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and lifestyle choices, like smoking or not being active enough. Every single one of these acts like a corrosive agent, just slowly and silently eating away at the integrity of our body's vital pipelines.
But listen, it's not just about clogged pipes. The pump itself, the heart, can come under direct attack. And one of the sneakiest ways this happens is through inflammation.
So you have conditions like myocarditis, that's inflammation of the actual heart muscle, and it can be triggered by infections. This inflammation basically causes the engine to overheat and sputter. It directly weakens its ability to pump forcefully, compromising the whole system right at its source.
So you've got potential problems with the pipes, and you've got potential problems with the pump. When one of these issues gets bad enough, it can trigger that massive, system-wide crisis we talked about at the beginning, medical shock.
All right, let's get into the different flavors of shock here. It's generally broken down into 4 main types, and it all depends on what part of the system actually failed. So, using our analogy, you can have a broken pump, that's cardiogenic shock. You can have low fuel or leaky pipes, that's hypovolemic shock, where you've lost blood volume. You could have a dam in the river, that's obstructive shock, a physical blockage. Or the pipes are too wide, that's distributive shock, where blood vessels open up so much that your blood pressure just bottoms out.
And just to give you a sense of how devastating shock can be, take a look at this number, over 250,000. That's the number of people who die every year in the US just from sepsis. Sepsis is a severe infection, and it's a leading cause of that distributive shock we just mentioned. Now, our focus today is on the broken pump, but this number, it's just staggering. It really shows you the immense toll that any kind of system-wide circulatory failure can take. Okay, so for the rest of this explainer, we're going to zero in on that first category, the broken pump scenario. We're talking about cardiogenic shock.
So what is it, clinically? Well, it's defined as the heart itself being the main point of failure. It just cannot pump enough blood to meet the body's critical needs, even though there's plenty of blood volume for it to work with. Put simply, the engine has failed.
So, what could cause such a catastrophic engine failure? The number one culprit is a massive heart attack, a myocardial infarction. But it can also be triggered by severe heart failure, diseases of the heart muscle called cardiomyopathy, or even sudden electrical problems, dysrhythmias that just throw the heart's rhythm into total chaos.
And here it is. This is where it all comes together. A heart attack, the number one cause, is so often the devastating final chapter of those hardened arteries we talked about. A weakened heart muscle? You can trace that directly back to the damage from inflammation. See? The chronic pipe and pump problems are exactly what set the stage for this immediate life or death crisis.
So once cardiogenic shock kicks in, the body starts this terrifyingly rapid downward spiral. The clock is officially ticking, and that window to do something about it is closing with every single minute that passes. All types of shock tend to move through 4 stages. First up is the initial stage. The damage is silent, it's all happening at a cellular level. Then the body slams the alarm button in the compensatory stage. The heart rate goes through the roof, just desperately trying to keep up, but it's a frantic, unsustainable pace. Next, in the progressive stage, those coping mechanisms just buckle and organs start shutting down. And finally, you have the refractory stage. This is the point of no return. The damage is irreversible and total body failure is right around the corner. This deadly progression is exactly why speed is everything.
So what happens if medical teams lose this race against time? And maybe more importantly, how do we build up our defenses so this race never even has to be run in the first place?
Well, the ultimate consequence of untreated shock is this cascade of failure called multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, or MODS. When the body's deprived of oxygen for too long, a domino effect starts. It usually begins with the lungs, then the kidneys, the liver. One by one, the body's vital systems just go dark.
And this brings us to the single most critical takeaway, and it's captured perfectly in this quote. Shock is a rapidly progressing, life-threatening process. Early detection with a rapid response is necessary. I mean, that says it all, right? Every single minute counts. The faster shock is identified, the better the chance of stopping that deadly cascade in its tracks.
But the most powerful strategy of all is prevention. The absolute best way to survive cardiogenic shock is to make sure your body is never in a position to experience it, and that means actively taking care of your pump and pipes. Things like regular exercise, a heart-healthy diet, and quitting smoking, those things directly fight back against that corrosive gunk in your arteries. And getting early treatment for infections? That can stop the kind of inflammation that weakens the heart muscle before it even starts. Think about it. Your heart beats over 100,000 times a day, pumping life through 60,000 miles of vessels, and it never, ever gets a day off. It is, without a doubt, the hardest working muscle in your body. So, after seeing what happens when it fails, the question we want to leave you with is a personal one. How are you going to protect your pump?